Judges in South Carolina have dropped charges against a man who was taking pictures and video of women at a public pool as they were in their bikinis. Now, this story is interesting because when it comes to the issue of privacy, it's important to remember that if you are in a private place, if you are in a bathroom stall or in your home, you have a reasonable expectation of privacy. So if someone is spying on you and taking photos of you in that way, then of course they're violating you, they're doing something criminal, there could be some consequences for it. Now in this case though, we're talking about an apartment complex and the pool at this apartment complex. So officers saw a man taking photos with his phone of women in their bathing suits, it was reported. The man then started using a GoPro video camera to film women underwater. Kilkenny was lawfully at the pool though, and the content of the photographs and videos was open to public view, meaning that there would be no reasonable expectation of privacy under the circumstances. That's according to Leslie Robinson, who is the assistant solicitor who read this ruling, saying, yeah, the guy's kind of creepy, right? Like he's obviously there taking creepy pictures of the women in their bikinis, even going so far as to getting in the pool with his GoPro to take videos of women in the pool in their bikinis. But still, even though it's distasteful, there was no criminal activity here, right? And by the way, when cops noticed him taking these pictures, they were like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm just taking pictures of the scenery. It's really beautiful out here.
Yeah, very bushy.
Right.
Underwater scenery is great.
Right,
apparently.
so great. And so the cops were like, can we please see your camera? And he said yes. And the cops looked through the photos and they're like, we're gonna have to arrest you. So we don't have, the pictures to judge for ourselves how bad they were.
But if everyone could just close their eyes and imagine how creepy this situation must have been, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The thing about filming people is there are as many different versions of the law as there are places in America because it varies state to state, localities, like there's different like commercial versus private use regulations in Los Angeles. Like the most public places in Los Angeles are Venice Boardwalk and Hollywood Boulevard. In order to shoot there for distribution purposes, you need to get it's cost $1,400 to get a license to film there. But you can still film for yourself, for your own reasons, and be as pervy as you want.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when I think about this, and you're talking about women in bikinis, you think about beaches as well, and how people are always taking photos. And if a creep really wants to go around there and take photos of people in their bikini, he can. He could just say, I was taking a selfie, I was doing this. I tried to look a little bit deeper and try to figure out what was going on in the mind frame of this individual. And I found the next article that was given a quote from him where he said, I just moved to this place and I wanted to show everyone the new scenery. And that's where I was like, what kind of scenery are you gonna show? There's no difference between underwater scenery and where you're moving from in here. It doesn't vary state by state. A pool is a pool, so you're underwater, and it just so happened to be that there was women in the pool at the same time. So it's clear you're trying to show one thing. You're trying to show off, or to yourself or to other people, women in the area you're in. So then he responded something like, oh, and then the police officers dragged me out. No, they questioned you and they looked at your phone and they found stuff that was suspicious, questionable at that point. Now, there is no law as a state that they can hold him by. So therefore, there has to be some sort of action taken by the owners of the pool if he's going to be allowed to go back there. Maybe they put up signs that says no photography.
So it's a public pool.
It is a public pool. I just have to bring up one, monkey wrench to this whole thing. Okay. Keep in mind that there are public parks. Well, I know for sure in Los Angeles, but I think this is true of public parks throughout the country, where let's say there's a playground, there will be a sign indicating that if you are a single male, you are not allowed to be there. Right. You have to be there, you have to accompany your child, right? So if you're a single male and you decide you want to sit on a park bench that's close, like very close to this playground, that's not allowed and people can call the cops on you. So it's interesting how laws change based on very specific circumstances. Right. And I don't even know if I necessarily agree with that law, just because I feel like it immediately assumes that every single male is a pervy wanker who's trying to take advantage of these kids. Maybe he just wants to sit at that bench and eat lunch. I don't know.
It's at least the one I saw, that unassisted adults. It didn't specified.
Oh yeah,
the one I saw.
But there are signs. I've seen signs that specifically mention males.
So it goes down to what we all are feeling and really want to articulate in a very specific way, and that's what you have to do when applying laws to things that you feel are wrong. So you have to put a finer point on it, and what it seems to me is people do feel violated by this person, and while this individual isn't necessarily violating a reasonable expectation of privacy because you are at a public place and you chose to be in your bikini, if this guy is getting right up close to people, jumping in, they're being harassed by him. And then you could kind of default to a disturbance of the peace claim that this person is really creeping all of us out. And while the actions themselves are within his rights, they do create a situation in which every female here feels violated. And then there's also issues in the difference between audio recording and video recording.
Yeah, there is.
So in audio recording, it depends on where you are, of course. There's some places you can record anything, but other states put a difference between if you are in on the conversation or not. So in certain municipalities and states, you can't record a conversation you're not part of. And so why would you be able in those situations, in that same place, to videotape people that don't want you doing that, even though you're in a public place? Now that's not as direct, but those are the kinds of things that the different laws tap into in order to address this claim that I think we all feel when we read this story, which is this guy's a total creeper and this just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't seem right. But the law is the law. And I remember when I was going to school for journalism, you have to take a media law class just so you know what your rights are and what you're not protected by. And a big part of that is privacy issues. And rule of thumb, if people are in a public place and do not have a reasonable expectation of privacy, it's fair game for you to approach them, to film them. Some journalists will decide to blur the face of minors just to protect them, even though by law you're not required to do that. So it's dependent on the media organization you work with and what type of journalistic ethics they have. But all of these laws do vary state by state, sometimes one municipality to another. And it's important for you to know what your rights are and how you're protected and how you're not protected. And more than anything, stories like this just remind me that going out in public is just, I used to love going out in public and being social. And now I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
People are terrible. I don't
Dude,
really
we just bought like
humans.
6 pairs of blackout curtains. We can get that place dark and holy.
And the stories like this paint that sort of picture that there is creepers out there that just spoil it for the majority of people that just like to go out and indulge in what people like to do, is go to the beaches and go to pools. Is there anything stopping those by the pool to put up a sign and saying this area is prone to having a creep taking photos? Just in case
they can totally
just so they can do that, just so that people are going there are aware.
Maybe
they'll go to vacate another pool because it's just to at least bring some sort of light to a situation. And I read also that the man was saying, oh, now I'm looking to move in the near future, but I don't think that's going to happen. And thankfully this was acquitted. But my neighbors are still thinking I'm kind of a creep. And I'm like,
you're taking pictures of them.
You think so? I wonder how my neighbors would react to that. Oh, it's underwater scenery, it's great.
So creepy.
Yeah, now most of the time people will need to be shamed. I don't know if this would work for this particular guy, but if he's taking pictures, just start taking pictures of him.
Yes.
Guarantee he'd be like, hey, because he doesn't want to be known as that guy, obviously. So if he starts getting exposed, I'm just taking pictures of you in a public setting. And I'm talking about what you're doing.
Membership helps fund the Young Turks. You know one great thing about that? That means we're not accountable to anyone but you guys. That's why we're strong together, because we built this show around you. Come build it even bigger and better at tytnetwork.com/join.